very lovely question, you know. But I must say that it wasn't as if it went to a very torturous discussion, etc. You have to understand that Chetak actually is in our bloodstream, and its shadow sort of hangs over the company quite strongly. And once we had decided on the format of the electric vehicle, which was to be scooter, frankly speaking, the decision came very, very naturally that it has to be Chetak. But you're very right in pointing out that the thought did cross our minds, all of our minds, that there is a certain legacy, it belongs to an older generation, it is an IC engine, so all those things, and whether this is what would carry forward in the Chetak brand equity. But all of us were sure, and there was some research also conducted, but we found that the core values of Chetak were far beyond the nostalgia, the happiness around Chetak and its memories was far outweighed the static things which surrounded the Chetak about it being IC. And on top of it, as you heard Gagandeep say, the R&D team had also worked very hard to create this bridge between the conscious of its legacy, but still in its details, to ensure that there was a future stance to the product. So yes, those conflicts were there, but I think there was a lot of certainty and unanimity in the company that the brand should be Chetak.
First about the suspension. As you know, Chetak in the past had a certain kind of a format from a suspension point of view. What you see on this vehicle over here is a very modern suspension in contrast, although it looks similar. It has got suspension which also enables you to apply a disc brake in the front. So all that work has been done. And the calibration of suspension has been done in such a way that the ride comfort is superb. And when you go over a ditch, for example, a bump, you don't get this cut kind of a sound, rather you get a thunk. So it's like a German car versus a Japanese car. You hit a bump and a ditch and you have this rattly sound, and the German car has this thud kind of a stuff. So all that has been taken care of. The second most important thing was from the styling aspect. If you look at the typical scooter with a telescopic suspension, it breaks the classical image substantially. And also the side look of the vehicle gets cluttered up by the presence of a telescopic fork in there. If you look at the Chetak from the right side, you will see that both the wheels, the rear and the front, are clean to look at. So it's like you're looking at an automobile. So if you look at the photograph of that, you just see magically the wheels standing out there. So it is very important from a styling perspective, the lineage, as well as the technological advancements that have been done to make it behave very nicely. So it tracks absolutely true in a very nice fashion. That was about the suspension. Then you have, sorry, what is the other question, Matt?
Quality and
the quality part of it.
And battery life and service.
Yeah.
What was?
So from an aspect of the quality and battery life is an important part, because almost 50% of the EV part cost is actually the battery itself. There was this mention about swap and things like that. We also want to look at cost of ownership of the product. And the cost of ownership for a private individual is the best when you have a fixed battery pack. When you have a swappable battery pack, you need more than the number of vehicles that are on the road. You need that many number of batteries on the road. Many times 1.5 to 1.8 times. Which means that the system as a whole will make the operation cost higher. So the best operational efficiency comes in if you have your own battery that you can charge in your own house. Because then you pay the charges basis only the electricity that you take from your house. Whereas otherwise, if a service provider is providing you with the service of a charged battery, there are additional costs, not only of the extra batteries that have to be amortized. You also have to have the various service charges that are associated with that for the infrastructure. So from an operation perspective, that is why we've chosen the kind of configuration we have. Then about the life part of it, the warranty part, I think Eric's going to talk about it separately, but I think it's about 30,000 kilometers of
standard
warranty.
3 years, 50,000.
3 years, 50,000 kilometers of warranty. And while the battery is designed to give you over 70,000 kilometers of life. All other parts on an electric vehicle are not subjected to the kind of vibrations which an IC engine puts on a vehicle. And that's why you will not hear rattles and squeaks as you drive a vehicle over time. So it's been designed with an aspect of keeping this in mind, looking at a structure that's super durable It's gone through all the tough testings that you would find to overcome Indian terrain, but it's actually an electric vehicle, no doubt about that. The service intervals also in the same way, much longer. We are talking about 15,000 kilometers service interval, so that the customers get a longer time for which they can drive the vehicle without being hampered or having to go to get their vehicles set. So that's the kind of engineering work behind it.
Before I tell you what hurdles we faced, let's consider what Chetak stands for. I think first and foremost, Chetak is a brave heart. Because I see lots of young people in this room. Everything is relative, so young means younger than me. Chetak was born at around the same time that the relationship between Bajaj and Piaggio came to an end. That was not because the partners wanted that, but the government created a situation or a policy that led to that. Chetak became synonymous with reliability and durability, and it was a famous fact that a Chetak was often sold for a higher price than it was bought for. So I think Chetak has always been a pioneer. Again today, the new Chetak is also a pioneer of technology, as you have heard. I think the third thing about Chetak is Chetak was always a ambassador for the company and for the country. In those days, I don't know how many millions and millions of dollars of foreign exchange Chetak earned for us and for the country. Chetak is a product. Chetak को जो खरीदेंगे ना ये wallet से नहीं खरीदेंगे, दिल से खरीदेंगे. We have made it charming, so that first you will buy it, then you will discover the facts. That's how marketing should be. I am not going to directly answer your question on price today, but I can tell you कि price ऐसा रहेगा कि 10 साल का waiting list खड़ा होगा. The price cannot be beyond a certain level. So we have said in the past it will be somewhere between 1 and 1.5 lakhs. And I think that's what it will be. I've said this before that the biggest challenge for electric vehicles is a kind of conflict of interest in the minds of people or OEMs or manufacturers who are currently making IC engine products. So whether it's two-wheelers, three-wheelers, or cars, or trucks, or buses, or whatever, what you can see around the world is that large, successful organizations which make petrol and diesel vehicles across the world, whether two-wheel or four-wheel, who have enormous resources, have been generally very slow in developing and offering electric vehicles to the market. Whereas every day there is a new startup which is willing to burn cash to do the same. So why is this? So obviously because anytime you do something new, it is not uncommon that for some time it is not very profitable. When we made the Pulsar in 2001, we didn't make money on it from day one. When we entered Africa in 2003 in a major way, we were not making money in Africa from day one. So whether it's products or whether it's markets, you have to invest for some time. Now the problem is that every manufacturer, including Bajaj Auto, we have so much vested interest, not in a bad sense of the word, just in the factual sense, that in our skills, in our R&D skills. I mean, if we have today 1,200 people in R&D, 95% or 90% of them, their skills are on IC engine vehicles. So just as the petrol pump fellow or somebody said कि मेरा क्या होगा, तो ये लोग भी सोच रहे हैं कि हमारा क्या होगा. When we have all these facilities in our plants or at the suppliers, so this is a question in everybody's mind that if tomorrow everything becomes electric, what happens to us? Sunil Deshpande has very generously offered that all of you can visit Chetak plant. If you go there and see, you'll be shocked, because if you see a KTM line or a Pulsar line, it is spread over 4 shops. If you see a Chetak line, it fits in this room, because with the electric vehicle, everybody knows the parts are fewer. It comes together very simply, very easily. So at the dealerships also, that is a question. Today, for example, service and spare parts is a huge part of a dealer's revenue and earning. Tomorrow with electric vehicles, I mean, it is almost unheard of. You hardly need any service or part replacement. Now, whether you call it as a noble cause, whether you call it as a pursuit of technology, whether you call it as de-risking the future, whatever, it's a combination of all these things. We must always have in us a spirit of doing something new. I always tell people, I said this at the launch in Delhi, that I think it was Mark Twain who said that I never let my schooling interfere with my education. So we always say that we should not let our business interfere with our entrepreneurship. Just because you have business and you are making a lot of money, doesn't mean you should forget thinking like you thought when you started. I just finished telling you that when Bajaj Auto was in the 70s, we were not the company we are today. We were one shop inside, which was little more than a hut. But there was a spirit we had to do something new, to create something. This spirit must be always, this flame must be always kept alive. So, I think every company should therefore, to answer your question, have this spirit of entrepreneurship. Put out these vehicles, and you will see it happening. I mean, one by one now, people are doing this. So we are, many of us are late to the game, but better late than never. See, the rest of it in terms of range anxiety, charging infrastructure, etc., I don't worry about it all. Because I have heard these stories so many times. I have heard this story with CNG three-wheelers in Delhi. That time when we have introduced this, there was only one CNG pump in Delhi. Everybody said, "Ki kahan bharenge?" Auto rickshaw drivers used to queue up for 6 hours to fill CNG. But once the demand was there, because people loved CNG because it was clean and it was economical, very economical. So, despite the hardships, if people buy it, because there is a strong USP to the product, why you should buy it, then the CNG infrastructure will come up. When we went to Africa and it was run over by cheap Chinese motorcycles, which were selling at half the price of what we could afford to sell. So Rakesh and I, we have seen the situation that people said, who will pay double the price for effectively what is another motorcycle? Especially because they were being used largely as taxis over there. But when people saw what is real quality, what is real fuel economy, today 1 out of 3 motorcycles sold in Africa is a Bajaj motorcycle. So what I want to say is that we should, in summary, we should not get caught in this vicious cycle of chicken and egg. कि पहले गाड़ी आएगा, कि पहले infrastructure आएगा, पहले गाड़ी आएगा, because nobody is going to put up an infrastructure for anything unless they actually see demand on the road in the first place. So it is, I think, squarely the job of the manufacturer, not of government, not of Niti Aayog, not of FM, not of PM. This is our job, that we have to put out vehicles which are such that even if somebody is telling you that, you know, where is the charging, where is the range and all, you will say, ठीक है देखा जाएगा यार, गाड़ी चाहिए मुझे. And that's the reaction we have generated. Saying we have missed the opportunity.
It's a Pratap Bose.
Pratap Bose should know he's talking to the world's favorite Indian. 40% हमारा माल दुनिया भर में बिकता है, इनका तो हिंदुस्तान में भी नहीं बिकता है. But see, I think, I don't know who he is, okay? I mean, I know he's design head of Tata Motors, but I don't know where he's coming from on this. But the problem with these things is that a lot of people think about it in engineering terms. And the problem with engineers is they only see the product. So I have not seen his comment because I am not on any social media. Social media nowadays is the most anti-social place to be. But I heard that he has said something to the effect that there is nothing new in this or something like that. And I guess because he's a designer, he's referring to the style of the vehicle. Because he has not ridden the vehicle, so he cannot talk about the performance. Price I don't know, so he cannot comment on the price. So he can only comment on the style. That is his comment. Now, the problem is, Swaraj, that we have learned the hard way that while engineers think product, nobody buys product actually. So there is brand, there is story, there is experience, there is design, there is performance, there is price. Without understanding this big picture, if somebody comments that they have lost the plot or lost the opportunity, well, good luck to Tata Motors if he is a representative of the talent that they have over there. auto industry. I feel that auto industry is a very big industry, a very prestigious industry. And I feel that at the drop of a hat, if we remove our begging bowl, it doesn't suit our stature. So first we have to ask ourselves, what we have to do better? And then if necessary, we can ask government for help. Secondly, in terms of facts, the retail slowdown was only 5 to 10%. This 20-30% was only because of stock reduction being made by the manufacturers for several months. So to present almost a misleading argument, अरे हम मर गए 30% डाउन है 30% डाउन है क्योंकि आपका स्टॉक ज्यादा है एक्चुअली कस्टमर रिटेल में खाली 10% डाउन है and there is no business whether it's your business or newspaper or magazine or my business of motorcycle three-wheeler, there is no business in the world which is growing all the time. Correction takes place. If you cannot face 10% downturn in your business, you should not be in business. Thirdly, why should you depend on only one market? You should be global. If you ask Tata Motors, do they want to be global? Of course they want to be. Are they global? Of course they are not. Because उनका thinking है सर, the thinking problem is only there first of all. If you ask Mahindra, 4% export है. Hero Motors 2% export. Why? किसने कम मना किया है इनको export करने के लिए? So my point is that किसी न किसी market में कभी न कभी तो slowdown होने वाला है. So if you are spread yourself across the world, you will not get affected so much if one market is down, another market is down, another market. But for that, your products have to be world class. So I am not calling anybody's products third class. I only said if you cannot export, then please think why you cannot export. या तो आपको करना नहीं है, either you are not willing. जैसे गवर्नर साहब ने बुलाना, are you willing and able to make government? So same way you should ask, are you willing and able to export? Either you are not willing or you are not able. ये दो ही कारण हो सकते हैं. So it is the same logic. So that's all I was saying. I was not criticizing anybody or calling anybody mediocre or anything about it, because I have always said that we are here to share information which is useful to the customers. We do not wish to share the information which is useful to the competition. So we will not give that information. Second is, before you talked about the channel, what was the other question in terms of volume? See, the problem, Geeta, is that we are in the same problem that we were in 2001 with Pulsar. At that time, Pulsar entered a segment in which there were two products, CBZ and Fiero, or Hero and TVS respectively. Together, I think they were selling 3,000 a month. So we have made a mistake and said to ourselves, okay, 3,000 a month है, तो हमारे आने से वो 5,000 होगा, 5,000 में से 30% share, so we can sell 1,500. Actually, after 6 months of launch, we were selling 10,000. So we have already made this mistake once, 18 years ago, of looking at the existing size of market and calibrating ourselves to that. So you know what they say in life, it is very good to make mistakes, but it is very stupid to make same mistake twice. So we don't want to make the same mistake twice. We are not going to guess. We are going to be flexible, as I said earlier. We are very modular, we are very flexible in our approach. So if the demand is 1,000 a month, we will make 1,000. If it is 10,000, we will make 10,000. It may take us a little time to gear up to 10,000 or any such number. I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. You would know better what is the current size of the market for such vehicle. It's very, very small. So if you go by that, we will not be looking at anything more than a few hundred a month. But I don't think that is going to be the case. I think we have a very charming proposition. And certainly we can look for much larger volumes, but we will be ready for whatever